Why do people crave what they can't control? Why is it that the moment you pull away, the moment you stop chasing, suddenly they start to feel the pull toward you? The answer lies in a truth both the Stoics and dark psychology understood well. Obsession is born not from abundance, but from scarcity. The less of you she has, the more her mind will fight to get it back. This is the story of a man who gave everything, his attention, his energy, his presence, to a woman who treated it like it was endless. She never feared losing him, because he never gave her a reason to. But when he finally detached, when he stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped handing her the keys to his emotions, everything changed. His silence became louder than his words. His absence became heavier than his presence. And in that shift, she began to feel it, the slow, creeping pull of obsession. Dark psychology explains this as the paradox of desire. People want most what they cannot easily have. And the Stoics reveal why detachment is so powerful, because true freedom comes when you no longer need what others withhold. When you combine the two, you unlock something unshakable. By detaching, you not only protect yourself, you become the very thing she can't stop thinking about. So remember this: the man who clings becomes predictable. The man who detaches becomes a mystery, and nothing is more addictive to the human mind than the unknown. That's how you turn the tables. That's how you become her obsession, not by chasing, but by detaching. If you're ready to stop giving away your power, if you're ready to master detachment, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. Detachment is my power. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The paradox of desire. Desire is a paradox. The more available you are, the less you are valued. The more you chase, the easier it is to ignore you. But the moment you pull back, the moment you detach, something strange happens. Attraction begins to grow. Why? Because people crave what they cannot fully control. When you were always there, texting first, giving constant attention, making yourself available at all times, she never had to question your presence. You were predictable, and predictability kills desire. But when you detach, when you stop reaching out, when your energy shifts inward, you disrupt that pattern. Suddenly she's uncertain. She begins to wonder, why isn't he chasing anymore? Did he lose interest? Is someone else in his life? That uncertainty breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the root of obsession. The Stoics would see this as freedom. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you detach, you're not playing a game. You're reclaiming your freedom. You stop trying to control her choices and instead master your own. And ironically, that very freedom is what makes her start to crave you again. Dark psychology calls this the scarcity principle. The less available you are, the more valuable you appear. Your absence makes her attention grow sharper. Your silence makes your presence heavier. And your refusal to cling makes her want to cling even harder. That is the paradox of desire. When you no longer need her, that's when she begins to need you. If you're ready to stop chasing and let the paradox of desire work in your favor, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She chases what I don't give freely. Number 2. Silence creates curiosity. Words can be dismissed, arguments can be twisted, pleas can be ignored. But silence can't be escaped. When you go silent, when you detach completely, you leave behind a void, and the human mind cannot stand a void. That's why silence creates curiosity, and curiosity is the spark that fuels obsession. At first, she may brush it off. She may even feel relieved. But over time, the silence grows heavier. She begins to wonder, why hasn't he called? Why hasn't he reached out? Did he replace me? Did he stop caring? The absence of your voice forces her to create answers on her own, and those imagined answers are always more haunting than anything you could have said. The Stoics mastered this kind of restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion, and silence is the embodiment of that wisdom. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to argue your worth. By refusing to speak, you show the greatest control of all, the control of your own tongue. And that control unsettles her, because it proves you're no longer tied to her approval." Dark psychology explains this further. The human brain craves feedback. Every message, every action seeks a reaction. When you give no reaction, the brain doesn't rest. It obsesses. It replays. It questions. It wonders. Your silence becomes a puzzle she can't solve. And nothing pulls a mind deeper than the need to solve what feels unsolvable. If you're ready to stop wasting words and let silence do the work, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence creates curiosity. Number 3. Emotional control is magnetic. The man who cannot control his emotions becomes a slave to them, and the man who is a slave to his emotions becomes predictable. But the man who masters his emotions, that man becomes magnetic. Because in a world where everyone is reactive, he stands out as unshakable. When you detach, you show her that her words no longer dictate your mood, her attention no longer defines your worth, and her absence no longer breaks your spirit. That calmness, that composure, that discipline, it unsettles her at first. But then it begins to pull on her, because emotional control signals strength, and strength has always been attractive. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That is the Stoic core of obsession. You don't become desirable by needing her. You become desirable by mastering yourself, by proving that no one can shake your center, by showing that you are a man who doesn't bend to storms, but stands firm in silence. Dark psychology calls this the forbidden power dynamic. When someone realizes they no longer control your emotions, their instinct is to chase that control again. Your composure becomes a puzzle. Your calmness becomes a challenge. And challenges are irresistible to the human mind. The very fact that you are unaffected makes her want to affect you again. Emotional control isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Because in a world of chaos, the man who radiates calm becomes the one she cannot stop thinking about. If you're ready to master your emotions and let that control become your magnet, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My control is my magnet. Number 4. Scarcity increases value. What is rare is always desired. What is abundant is always ignored. When you were always available, she treated your presence like it would never run out. But when you detach, when you pull back your attention and energy, you create scarcity, and scarcity increases value. Think about it. Gold is valuable because it's rare. Diamonds are coveted because they're scarce. Your presence works the same way. The less of you she has, the more she craves it. The more mysterious you become, the more her mind obsesses over what you're doing, where you are, and why you're no longer within reach. The Stoics understood this principle of restraint. Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." When you give yourself to everyone, or when you pour all your energy into one person who doesn't value it, you diminish yourself. But when you control your presence, when you make yourself rare, you raise your worth in the eyes of others. Dark psychology explains this through the scarcity effect. Human beings place more value on things that feel limited. When you no longer text, call, or show up like you once did, she begins to realize your attention was never cheap. It was priceless. And the fact that she no longer has it makes her want it even more. Scarcity is not about games. It's about discipline. It's about refusing to overextend yourself for someone who didn't appreciate you. And when you hold that discipline, her mind shifts. What she once ignored, she now obsesses over. If you're ready to make your presence rare and your value undeniable, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My scarcity makes me valuable. Number 5. The mirror of indifference. Nothing unsettles the human mind more than indifference. Anger can be fought with anger. Jealousy can be met with reassurance. Even sadness can be manipulated. But indifference is a mirror, and when you hold it up, she sees her own irrelevance reflected back at her. When you detach, when you no longer react to her games, when her presence or absence no longer shifts your emotions, you reveal something terrifying to her. She no longer has power over you. And in that loss of power, obsession is born. Because the mind craves control, and once it realizes control is gone, it will fight to get it back. The Stoics believed in this kind of strength. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Indifference is the highest form of that teaching. It means her actions no longer touch you, her silence no longer moves you, her validation no longer defines you. You are unmoved. And being unmoved makes you untouchable. Dark psychology explains that people are addicted to influence. When they can no longer influence you, they become obsessed with why. They replay moments, they question themselves, they analyze every interaction, searching for cracks in your armor. But the more indifferent you remain, the stronger that obsession grows. Because she's not battling you. She's battling herself in the mirror you hold up. Indifference is not weakness. It's the purest form of strength. It's the calmness that says, I no longer need you. I no longer chase you. I no longer bend for you. And nothing is more haunting than realizing you've become irrelevant in the life of someone who once cared. If you're ready to let indifference be your mirror and her obsession, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My indifference is my power. Number 6. The dark psychology of uncertainty. The human mind craves certainty. It wants to know where it stands, what it means, and how things will end. But when you detach, when you pull away without explanation, you deny her that certainty. And in its place, you plant uncertainty, the most powerful seed of obsession there is. Uncertainty makes her mind restless. At first, she may feel confident, even smug, believing she had control. But as your silence holds, doubt creeps in. Why hasn't he come back? Did he stop caring? Is he happier without me? Has someone else taken my place? These questions loop endlessly, and the longer they go unanswered, the deeper they sink. That spiral is where obsession is born. The Stoics would call this power of restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. By refusing to react, by refusing to hand her closure, you keep control of yourself and force her to lose control of herself. Because she cannot answer the questions your silence leaves behind, she must wrestle with them on her own." Dark psychology explains this as the Zeigarnik effect. The mind fixates on what is incomplete, and by detaching without explanation, you become the unfinished story she can't stop revisiting. Every unanswered question becomes fuel. Every silent day becomes weight. And over time, uncertainty transforms into obsession. If you're ready to stop feeding certainty and let uncertainty work in your favor, hit that like button. subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence creates uncertainty. Number 7. Detachment as self-respect. Detachment isn't coldness, it's self-respect. When you refuse to cling, when you stop begging for her attention, when you step back and choose your dignity over desperation, you send a message louder than words. I value myself too much to be treated as an option, and nothing triggers regret and eventually obsession like realizing a man has raised his standards beyond your reach. The Stoics made self-respect their foundation. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Detachment often looks foolish to outsiders. They'll say you should fight, argue, prove your worth. But the Stoic knows better. By detaching, you protect your energy. You stop pouring your strength into someone who doesn't value it, and you invest it back into yourself. That is wisdom. That is power. Dark psychology explains why this cuts so deep. Most people expect you to keep chasing. They expect you to keep showing up, no matter how they treat you. But when you break that script, when you stop responding, when you no longer care, you disrupt their sense of control. Your self-respect becomes a wall they can't climb, and walls they can't climb turn into obsessions they can't ignore. Detachment is not about proving a point to her. It's about proving a point to yourself. That your value isn't defined by anyone's acceptance. That your peace is worth more than her validation. And when you embody that truth, she doesn't just feel regret. She begins to crave the man who refuses to beg. If you're ready to let detachment be your highest form of self-respect, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My detachment is my respect. Number 8. The gravity of mystery. Mystery is magnetic. The less she knows, the more she wants to know. When you detach, when you stop oversharing, when your life is no longer an open book for her to read, you create gravity, an invisible pull that keeps her attention locked on you. At first, she may dismiss your silence. She may even tell herself she doesn't care. But as time passes, that mystery grows heavier. Where is he? What's he doing? Has he changed? Has he moved on without me? Her imagination becomes your ally, because the unknown is always louder than the known. And the more she wonders, the stronger the gravity of your mystery becomes. The Stoics believed in the power of inner life. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When you live a rich inner life, when you build in silence, grow in private, and let your actions speak instead of your words, you become more than just a man in her past. You become a question she can't answer. Dark psychology calls this the allure of uncertainty. The brain is addicted to puzzles, and a mysterious man is a puzzle she cannot solve. Your silence, your absence, your growth, they all blend together into something she can't define, and that undefined image haunts her thoughts far more than constant presence ever could. Mystery doesn't just make her curious, it makes you unforgettable, because while ordinary men shout for attention, you disappear into silence, and silence always echoes louder in the mind. If you're ready to become the mystery she can't stop thinking about, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My mystery is my gravity. Number 9. Transformation beyond her reach. The greatest regret comes not from losing who you were, but from realizing she can never touch who you've become. When you detach, you don't just disappear, you evolve. You use the silence to build your body, sharpen your mind, and strengthen your spirit. And while she's replaying the past, you're building a future beyond her reach. This transformation doesn't need to be announced. You don't post it for her to see. You don't brag about your growth. You let it unfold in silence, and one day it speaks for itself. That's the haunting truth, because when she finally catches a glimpse of who you've become, she realizes she no longer has access to you. The man she dismissed has turned into someone far greater, and her chance to stand beside him is gone forever. The Stoics believed in this kind of transformation. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of pain, it all becomes fuel. It forges you into a man who is not defined by what was taken from him, but by what he built afterward. And that strength is irresistible. Dark psychology makes it even clearer. Regret intensifies when paired with comparison. When she compares the man you were with the man you are now, the contrast becomes unbearable, because she didn't just lose you. She lost the best version of you, the one her actions helped create, but can never reclaim. Transformation beyond her reach is the sharpest cut. It's not revenge, it's evolution. And evolution always leaves the past behind. If you're ready to grow in silence and become untouchable, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My evolution is beyond their reach. Number 10. The final obsession. Obsession doesn't begin when you chase. It begins when you stop. When she no longer knows where you are, what you're doing, or who you've become, her mind fills the silence with endless questions. And over time, those questions grow into obsession. Not because you forced it, not because you begged for it, but because you detached. The final obsession is born the moment she realizes she no longer has access to you. The texts she once ignored will never come again. The calls she declined won't ring anymore. The man she thought would always be there has vanished into silence. And in his place stands a man she can't control, can't predict, and can't forget. The Stoics knew this as the victory of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. By mastering yourself, you stop being controlled and start becoming magnetic." The irony is, the moment you no longer need her, that's when she begins to need you. The moment you stop caring, that's when she starts to. The moment you detach, that's when she obsesses. From a dark psychology perspective, this is inevitable. The scarcity, the silence, the mystery, the transformation, it all builds pressure in her mind until it consumes her thoughts. And that's the final twist. By detaching, you didn't lose her attention. You captured it forever. The best part? You don't even care. Because your goal was never to make her obsessed. It was to free yourself. Her obsession is just the echo of your discipline. If you're ready to embrace the final truth, that detachment makes you unforgettable, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. Detachment makes me unforgettable. At the end of the day, detachment is not about making her obsessed. It's about freeing yourself. The paradox is that the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop clinging, the moment you stop giving away your power, that's when the obsession begins. Not because you forced it, but because you finally chose yourself. Think about what we uncovered. The paradox of desire, the silence that creates curiosity, the magnetic force of emotional control, the value of scarcity, the mirror of indifference, the dark pull of uncertainty, the dignity of self-respect, the gravity of mystery, and the transformation that puts you forever beyond her reach. All of it builds toward one truth. The man who doesn't need her becomes the man she cannot stop thinking about. That is Stoicism. That is dark psychology. That is the ultimate reversal of power. She obsesses not because you begged, not because you proved yourself, but because you detached. And in your detachment, you became rare. You became powerful. You became unforgettable. So let her regret. Let her wonder. let her spiral in silence. Because while her mind turns you into an obsession, you'll be living free, building strong, and rising higher than ever before. That is the victory of the dark Stoic. If you're ready to master detachment, if you're ready to walk as a man who no longer chases but is always chased, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. Detachment is my power. Thanks for watching, Stoic Soldier.